A pair of newly filled bills or filed bills could make cannabis legal here in Texas, but only for medical use.
Now 28 states have laws that allow access to marijuana recommended by a doctor. Texas is not one of them.
As some other states take steps to legalize marijuana, the process here in Texas would be different.
Most states actually do that by ballot initiative. Texas doesn't have that process.
There are only 2 months left until state lawmakers return to Austin for the next legislative session.
This time around, many people think medical marijuana could become legal. On Tuesday, 4 states, marked here in blue, voted in favor of using the drug for medicinal uses.
On June 1, 2015, Governor Greg Abbott signed the Texas Compassionate Use Act. This intended to allow qualifying patients with irretractable epilepsy to have access to low-THC cannabis. This must contain at least 10% CBD and no more than 0.5% THC. As of November 8, 2016, medical marijuana is legal in 28 states and the District of Columbia. These legal states have found cannabis to help with any kind of pain, multiple sclerosis, nausea, concussion, Alzheimer's, bipolar disorder, and for people like Ramona Harding, a Navy veteran who suffers greatly with PTSD.
I'm a survivor of 4 years of military sexual trauma. I was beaten and raped by an Iranian pilot and given a direct order never to tell my own mother why I could not have babies. And I didn't tell anybody this until December of 2011 when they had somebody prove to me they had security clearance happen. That happened before my 18th birthday in 1976. So they sent me here to Houston to the Weiser Center, which is specifically for military sexual trauma. And they went to a vet center, which is separate from a VA. It's where combat veterans can go and military sexual trauma veterans can go. And they gave me 70% for my PTSD. But they said, essentially, you're too crazy to work, so we're going to pay you 100%. And I said, well, I've worked my whole life. What am I going to do? And my vet center therapist said, you need to become a cannabis activist here in Texas. You need to turn what was taken away from you into something positive. I am the Texas Houston Normal Veterans Outreach Director, and I'm working on uniting veterans and giving them a voice in this to be able to express and to change the laws. Probably 3/4 to 7/8 of the veterans I know use cannabis. None of us want to be criminals. We didn't fight to become criminals.
The U.S. Department of Veteran Affairs provide treatments for veterans that suffer with PTSD. One dangerous form of treatment is prescribing psychotropic drugs. The side effects from these drugs are mood-altering, addictive, and in the worst case, deadly.
Over a period of several years, I found that by using cannabis, I was using less pain medications and didn't feel so much the need for the psychotropic medications. So for me, cannabis was an exit drug from addiction to pain pills and dependence on psychotropic drugs. And so this group of veterans, we came up with this idea for Operation Trap. And so each one of these pill bottles represents a Texas veteran who wants Governor Abbott and our legislators to establish a medical marijuana program in our state. And if you opened up all these bottles, you would find veterans from every single conflict all the way back to the Korean War who have given us these pill bottles. And so what I have learned is veterans going all the way back to the Korean War have been passing along the knowledge of medical cannabis from one generation of veterans to the next. And so I'm very happy that I found out about it, because now I lead a completely normal, productive life in my community thanks to cannabis.
On Veterans Day 2016, veterans from Operation Trapped marched in the Veterans Day Parade in Austin to the Capitol.
Cannabis is medicine! Yes, we cannabis! Yes, we cannabis! Yes, we cannabis! Yes, we cannabis!
Over 300 bottles and over 1,000 signatures were collected from Texas veterans. explaining why they choose medical marijuana over the psychotropic drugs. Scott Beer is a practicing emergency physician and a veteran of Operation Iraqi Freedom. Working in the medical field, he has witnessed medical marijuana to be a safer alternative than prescription medications.
So I think it's important when we're talking about medical cannabis that we should talk about the safety profile of medical cannabis as it compares to opiates. So on the one hand, for opiates, we have 50 people in this country die every day from opiate overdoses. On the other hand, we have medical cannabis. 0. Never happened. There's not ever been a documented case of a death from an overdose, surely from cannabis. So a lot of people tell me that the data is just not there yet. There's not enough studies. We can't trust it at this point. And I'm here to tell you that's absolutely false. There are several indications where it's absolutely been studied. There are not just anecdotal evidence, but there's also animal studies. There's clinical prospective studies done here in the United States and abroad that shows that this is absolutely a safe and effective medicine for several different indications that we're not currently using it here for in Texas.
In 1970, the FDA released drug schedules under the Controlled Substance Act.
America's public enemy #1 in the United States is drug abuse.
Marijuana is listed as a Schedule I drug. This states there is no medical use federally, a lack of safety for use under medical supervision, and a high potential for abuse.
You see a number here, 6630507. This is a patent number our government has on cannabis as a neuroprotectant. In that documentation, they say it is not toxic and not lethal.
If our government has positively tested marijuana to have medical value, then why are they keeping the plant from the patients?
We have a very slow process here in Texas, 140 days every 2 years, to try to cram as many bills that the legislation wants to get through. And so when the issue is a non-issue for them, very little gets done. Well, this is a bigger issue now. It hasn't been up to this point, but we have 28 states now and Washington, D.C. that are whole plant medical.
We're fighting against a lot of ignorance, which a lot of people, rightly so, believe the propaganda that our government told them about the plant being dangerous.
I want to tell you about something that has everyone buzzing. Something that concerns mature boys and girls just like you. Something called grass. Not that grass. I'm talking about marijuana. You may have heard of it. You may have seen someone smoking it, like those burnout bohemians or that crazy-eyed custodian at your school.
Kara Bonin is the executive director of Houston Normal, the national organization for the reform of marijuana laws.
As far as what Houston Normal does, we're a nonprofit organization. Nobody makes any money at the organization. We put our volunteer time and efforts into the movement. We ultimately are here to educate the public about how to change laws in Texas. Okay, I'm the executive director of Houston Normal, and what I do is I host a meeting once a month in Houston. We have a meeting every third Thursday of every month at Midtown Bar and Grill on West Gray. We talk business about our board. That's what Houston Normal does. We are the catalyst between we the people and the legislature in Austin. So the money we get from your donations keeps us going to Austin, staying in Austin, printing educational materials. But the bottom line is the real way to change this is free. It's your conversation with your legislature. It doesn't cost you anything. And that is how we really do change the laws here.
Texas is a unique state. Unlike most states where a bill can be taken to a vote by the people, Texas has to have both houses of the legislature to pass the bill in order to be sent to the governor for approval or acceptance. But there is another way a bill could become a law without the governor's signature, called joint resolution.
It requires 2/3 in both chambers. So you have to have 2/3 of the House reps and 2/3 of the state senators to pass a constitutional amendment. It does not require the governor's signature. So this is a way that we could pass this resolution, put it on the ballot, and let the voters decide on the issue without the governor having to sign off on it or sign the bill into law. once it's on the ballot, it's not like Florida where we have to have 60% of the vote to have the Constitution amended. We just need 50%, 50% plus one on the actual popular vote, and then that amends our Constitution.
Just like the majority of our country, Texans are very supportive for medical marijuana. This year at the Lone Star Rally, Houston Normal had a mock petition to expand the Compassionate Use Act and collected over 1,200 signatures. Houston being the biggest city in Texas, it is hard to inform the surrounding cities about reforming marijuana laws in Texas. Galveston recently has started their own Normal chapter.
If you come to a monthly meeting, you should expect to just kind of first talk about your beliefs with like-minded people. Secondly, to encounter people who really want to initiate change in their community. You know, most of us don't believe that we should have to move for medicine. Welcome to the first, official meeting for Madesyn Normal. Larry Taylor and Wayne Fairclough are Republicans. The Texas Republican Party platform says that we are for whole plant cannabis for recommended by a doctor. So you can say, toe the party line. Do you disagree with the state? On the very first day of pre-filing, we had at least 7 marijuana-related bills filed.
The marijuana bills that have been filed cover medical marijuana, decriminalization, and even recreational.
I think if anything is going to get passed in the near future, it's going to be the decrim bill. If something is going to pass, it's going to be that one. Because that one, it keeps it legal. I feel like it's a really good step for people who aren't comfortable yet with full legalization, but it makes it so that people who do enjoy it aren't going to ruin their lives because of that. I think this legislative session, nothing is going to pass because Texas is such a difficult state. The CBD bill is not really very helpful, so I feel like if they're willing to do something like that, then they would take the next step to do a full decrim or a site sentence, but we can still try to get it done. Every single state so far has started with medical, and that's what people, I think, see reasonable. It's a plant that has some type of psychoactive effect, which is what medicine is. It's altering the state of mind in the body. So realistically, this is a medical plant, and I think more people are open to that concept. I think there's a fear with going full legalization, and we're starting to see the positive coming from other states who are experiencing this. The revenue, the hospitals are being able to have patient-doctor discussions about how it's helping, how it's not. They're seeing a reduction of opiate use in these states, a reduction of opiate overdoses in these states, and I think the medical is the way to go, and I think that's very palatable for most Texans.
The only question now is, will the legislators listen and take action?